Greetings everyone, please click that like and subscribe button. Yanga Bara Nyalara was a man of contradictions, a former teaching student who turned into one of Cape Town's most feared crime figures. Once known as the Robin Hood of Site C, Khayelitsha, he was both feared and celebrated in his community. His name became synonymous with extortion, violence, and organized crime, and he was linked to multiple murders. From Cape Town's underworld to his hometown of Kofimvaba in the Eastern Cape, Bara built a reputation as a ruthless enforcer, allegedly extorting taxi associations and inserting himself into power. His reign of terror came to a bloody end on February 21, 2025, when a police shootout left him and 5 others dead. This is the story of Yanga Bara, teacher-turned-crime boss, feared by authorities yet revered by some. On the morning of May 15, 2021, Sikumbule Nkonki, an associate of Yanga Bara, had just collected extortion payments from shopkeepers at T&T Cash Store, located at X196 corner of Banzi Street and Baka Avenue in Site B, Khayelitsha. He was allegedly confronted by armed members of a rival extortion group operating in the same area. Nkonki was shot and executed on the street outside the shop.
The first victim, believed to be the mastermind behind the extortion, was killed in front of this house. He had allegedly just extorted money from a Somali spaza shop. Police confirmed that the deceased was found with a substantial amount of cash and a firearm.
Later that day, Bara Wanda Manalisi, along with a group of approximately 10 to 15 heavily armed men, gathered near the home of the rival group's leader, known as Piri, in Y-section Site B. Their intent, which became clear later, was to retaliate for Nkonki's killing by targeting informal businesses or individuals in areas controlled by the opposing group. The armed group first encountered their first victim in a passage behind Y834 Dues Close. The victim saw 3 armed men approaching, one of whom, later identified as Manalisi, questioned why he was staring at them. As he looked away, he noticed another group of about 7 armed men, including 2 carrying what appeared to be automatic rifles. As they passed him, one of the assailants unexpectedly shot him in the face, injuring him. The group moved on, while the victim fled to Khayelitsha Day Hospital for medical treatment. The attackers then proceeded to Lalala Crescent, where they encountered a second victim near Y808B Lalala Crescent. The victim was driving his vehicle when the group opened fire on him. The second victim managed to evade the gunfire and escaped unharmed. The group, led by Bara, who was armed with 2 automatic rifles, then moved to Freedom Cash Store at Y646 Palisa Crescent. There, Bara was seen handing one of his rifles to another group member, who, along with others, opened fire on the shop, injuring the shopkeeper. The attackers then proceeded to a tavern at Y744 Lalala Crescent, Site B. Outside the tavern, they encountered Gavin Futo, who attempted to flee but was shot and killed before he could reach safety inside. His cause of death was determined to be a gunshot wound to the chest cavity. Nearby, the group came across Tabiso Simalani and Mandlakaisa Simalani, who were seated in a parked Toyota Corolla outside the tavern. Bara and another gunman opened fire on the vehicle, killing both men. Tabiso Simalani died from a gunshot wound to the head, while Mandlakaisa Simalani succumbed to a gunshot wound to the abdominal cavity. During the attack, a stray bullet struck and injured a woman inside a neighboring dwelling. The group then continued down Kosa Avenue to ScoMo Supermarket at T110 Bayana Street. They entered the shop and shot the shopkeeper, Ibrahim Abdullah Ahmed, killing him. His cause of death was determined to be a penetrating gunshot wound to the chest. The group then crossed the nearby railway line and headed toward RR Section, an informal settlement in Site B, Khayelitsha. Near RR 182, they encountered Asamale Mayakiso, who attempted to flee but was shot and killed. His cause of death was determined to be a gunshot wound to the chest. Continuing their attack, the group reached a location near RR 1079, where they came across Simpiwe Mzola and Siyabonga Batani delivering bread to Zemazema Tuck Shop. Both were shot and killed. Mzola from a gunshot wound to the head and Batani from a gunshot wound to the body. Hassan Nur Mohammed, a shopkeeper standing outside smoking, was also fatally shot in the head. As they moved through the area, the group fired at 2 more individuals walking nearby Tembela Lamani and another victim. Lamani was killed by a gunshot wound to the head, while the other person was shot in the face but survived. The group then crossed back over the railway line into X section and made their way to TNT Cash Store, where their associate Nkonki had been killed earlier. On Banzi Street near X 320, they encountered Mzingisi Mbelini walking along the road and shot him dead. Upon arriving at TNT Cash Store, 3 members of the group, including Bara, entered the shop and opened fire, killing 2 shopkeepers, Ahmed Abukar Omar and Osman Wado. A 3rd shopkeeper was also shot at, but managed to escape unharmed. On May 8, 2022, a state witness received a call from Manalisi, asking him to pick him up from Saida Tavern on Mpongwana Street in Site C, Khayelitsha. Upon arrival, both Bara and Manalisi entered his vehicle, instructing him to drive to a nearby petrol station. The witness noticed that both men were armed. During the drive, he overheard Bara speaking on the phone before instructing him to head to TR section, Khayelitsha. There, an unidentified man got into the back of the vehicle. They then proceeded toward Town 2, where they picked up a 4th unknown male near the Old Apostolic Church. Bara then directed the witness to drive back to Site C. While en route, the witness overheard a conversation in which one of the unknown men informed someone that a specific individual was in Site C, intoxicated, and would be an easy target to kill. Upon reaching Site C, Bara and the 4th man exited the vehicle and entered the informal settlement. A few minutes later, the 4th man positioned himself across the street and was seen making a phone call. Shortly after, a black Toyota Runnix arrived, picked up the unknown man, and drove away. Bara instructed the witness to follow the vehicle. At one point, the Toyota turned left, while the witness was told to continue straight and take the next left. Moments later, he heard a gunshot, followed by Bara ordering him to turn around and stop. Bara, Manalisi, and the unidentified man then jumped out and ran down a passageway, after which the witness heard more gunshots. Fearing for his safety, he decided to leave, but before doing so, saw flashes from gunfire coming from the corner of Idada and Mpongwana Street. After the shooting stopped, Manalisi called him, instructing him to pick them up at a location known as Taiwan. When he arrived, all 3 men got into the vehicle and told him to drive out of Site C. As they were leaving via Idada Street, the witness noticed a body lying on the corner of Idada and Mpongwana Street. At that moment, he heard Manalisi remark, "The dog is dead." He then dropped them off at an open field near Luzuko. That evening, Sivuyile Lubobo, a well-known organized crime figure and leader of a rival extortion gang opposing Bara, was gathered with his associates, Mtokozisi, Asanda and Fundile, near the corner of Idada and Mpongwana Street in Site C, Khayelitsha. They came under fire from Bara and his group. Lubobo, Asanda and Fundile were killed on the spot, while Mtokozisi succumbed to his injuries later in the hospital. Meanwhile, Kayaletu Nelani and Atinkosi Bonkolo were at Bonkolo's home when they informed his aunt that they were stepping outside to see what had happened in the street. Shortly after, more gunshots rang out. It was later discovered that both Nelani and Bonkolo had been shot and killed.
36-year-old Mtokozizi Mahlakaze is one of the victims. His distraught family says his death is a huge shock, as he was a quiet person who never fought or argued with anybody.
He was only on his way to the shop to buy a candle, because where he's staying at the back, there is no electricity there. So he went to buy the candle. Then when he saw someone was shooting the people, then he ran away. Because I know him. He is my brother.
The family of 22-year-old Atinkosi Bonkolo are fearful because they do not know what motivated the deadly shootings. They say Bonkolo and his friends heard gunshots ring out and went to see what happened when he too was struck.
He sneaked out and then he go with the other friend, the one he shot with him. And then after that, they hear the shooting again. All that time, that shooting was the second shooting is all that time they shoot him and her friend. That's all we know.
Police have
Yanga Bara was arrested in Bothasig July 1st, 2022, in possession of dog food valued at approximately 90,000 rand. His arrest followed a 100,000 rand reward offered for information leading to his capture. When he was scheduled to appear at the Cape Town Magistrates Court on July 4th, 2022, residents from Site C gathered outside, chanting for his release. Many viewed him as a Robin Hood-like figure.
Protesters in support of Nyalara demonstrated outside court, calling for his release. They alleged that crime levels were lower in their area when accused number one was in the community.
He's doing the work that the police was supposed to do. So we are here to tell Bheki to release him. Whatever he was accused of, we don't care. Because our kids are dying. We are dying. We are being raped. We are being killed. So we want Yanga to be released, as in to die.
We are being persecuted in Khayelitsha. We can't walk through the railway line. People knock at our houses and demand TVs, money and everything. Our children's school transport was hijacked. Our kids are being raped. You can tell Bara has left a void in our community.
All four men have abandoned.
Several state witnesses were set to testify against Bara and his group. On the 25th of May, 2023, Christine Gumira, walking with two others. A suspect, dressed in a white jacket and grey beanie, approached her, drew a firearm from his right pocket, glanced back, and then fired 2 shots to her head. Her companions fled the scene while the shooter casually jogged away toward a police station. On August 20th, 2024, 17-year-old Olwethu Dionta was shot in the chest and head on Lindela Road, Kuyasa, in Khayelitsha. He had been set to testify in a criminal case against Yanga Bara. Reports indicated that he was walking home when an unknown assailant approached him, drew a firearm, and shot him. He was declared dead at the scene by medical personnel. A third witness, who was also targeted, managed to escape after surviving an attack on his home. In August 2024, reports emerged that Yanga, Bara Nyalara and Wanda Tofil, also known as Mampintsha, had been acquitted of charges related to an extortion-linked mass killing that left 12 people dead. The court ruled that the evidence presented was riddled with inconsistencies and falsehoods, making it impossible to establish the truth. Despite the acquittal, Bara remained in custody for another charge. The state later withdrew charges of business robbery, as well as possession of firearms and ammunition against Nyalara, leading to his release. Following his return to Site C, residents erupted in celebration, drawing comparisons to the way South Africans rejoiced when Nelson Mandela was freed from prison in 1990. Just when it seemed he might lay low, Yanga Bara Nyalara's reign of terror extended from Cape Town to his hometown of Koffimvaba in the Eastern Cape. Reports revealed that Nyalara had been extorting taxi associations, demanding up to 2,000 rand per week. He even orchestrated a taxi association meeting and appointed himself as chairperson. On February 21st, 2025, at around 1:30 p.m., police received intelligence about vehicles from Koffimvaba attending a taxi meeting. Officers from a specialized police unit attempted to stop Bara and his associates for a search. Bara was reportedly traveling in a dark-colored Toyota Fortuner. According to a police report, the National Intervention Unit, NIU, attempted to stop 2 vehicles suspected of carrying unlicensed firearms. Instead of complying, the vehicles sped off, leading to a high-speed chase from Somo to the N2 near Mission AA. During the pursuit, the NIU tried to intercept the Fortuners, but one of the vehicles rammed into a police vehicle and its occupants opened fire. The officers returned fire, killing 6 people, including Bara.
They tried to stop them once more. The police tried to stop the suspects, whereby the suspects started to shoot at the police. A shootout ensued, and 2 vehicles that were involved also at some stage bumped at the police vehicles, also shooting at the police while shooting at the police. Out of that, there's confirmed 3 occupants in 1 vehicle that have been shot dead, and the other 3 in the second one that has left the road into the water. So currently the diving unit is currently looking at whether we have more bodies or more persons that are in the river. But we can confirm that 6 of the suspects have been shot and killed by the police.